Hey everyone, welcome back to Geet Builds. I am Geet, creator and founder of both Minecraft and being a couple days late to upload a video. So today's video is going to be a map where I build this huge dragon and then build a medium-sized medieval house. And if you've been a Geetle for a while, you might expect at about this time for there to be a world painter time lapse, but I'm going to experiment with how I do these videos and actually move that to the end, so it'll still be in the video, but will be after I do all the building and whatnot. And this map is for the subscriber giveaway that I do, where each week I randomly choose one of my subscribers that's entered and then make them a custom map of their choosing, using World Painter to make the map and then building on it a bit in-game. And if you want to win a map like this, all you need to do is comment down below that you want to enter and how I can best get in touch with you, like Discord, Instagram, something like that. And this week's winner was DJ Nick, who wanted a snowy tundra and a medieval house. So it wasn't too hard of a request. So to spice it up, I decided to finally try building something I've been thinking about for a few weeks. A huge, slithering dragon flying around a pillar, which I saw a cool concept art for on Instagram and thought would be a really cool thing to include in a video. And I'm going to be honest, since starting this channel and getting a lot of building practice, I thought I might have improved enough to give it a pretty good shot. But I did not expect at all how difficult making a dragon head that looked anything but ridiculous, let alone good, would be. So right now I'm building the body of the dragon and making the scales, and this part I actually do think looks pretty good. And I'm really happy with the way it snakes around the pillar and circles through the air. It's pretty graceful and smooth, and everything looks natural. And the color scheme turned out well, with the underbelly being pale and the top half having a nice dark mix of blocks. Plus the ridges are nice, and I try to get them to stick out at the right angle, even as the dragon goes through weird curves and diagonal motions. Black, white, and red aren't the most original colors to make a dragon with, but it does fit the rest of the map well, and doesn't seem too out of place. So with all that said, this is where my ability to make a dragon completely stopped. This head. This horrible, horrible head. It's like the worst cartoon chicken dragon ever, and that's just from the side. Like the eyes and shape from the side are super funny, but then I saw what I had made from the front, and like, what? Like I don't even understand how it was this bad. I somehow made a 3D dragon head look 2D. My girlfriend's first reaction when she saw this was that it looked like Phineas from the front. It was so bad when I first saw it that I almost scrapped the dragon idea altogether, because I really didn't know how to fix it and make it look better. And it does get better, a little bit, with like 3 hours of additional shaping and building and lots of trial and error. So I tried extremely hard to get it to a point that I'd be happy with. Spoiler alert, it doesn't ever get there, but I don't laugh every time I see it now, so that's like good enough, I guess. So I gave it teeth, some horns, and making it darker colored did sort of hide some of the weird shape stuff going on. And making the head sharper and a bit bigger with a stronger jaw did sort of stop it from looking like a giant chicken, but now I just think it looks like a dog with whiskers. So even at its best, it still takes away from the dragon as a whole, and I think this might be the last time I work with an organic build like this for a while. And I already had a lot of respect for people out there that can make, giant animals, mythical creatures, even people in Minecraft that look realistic. But after trying it myself and completely missing the mark, I really cannot believe how talented they are. It's totally different and way harder than building a castle or a city. So with the dragon head being as good as I could possibly make it, I happily went back to something familiar and started to build the medieval house. So instead of being a half timber house, I decided to go full fantasy. I found some cool concept art and made the outline of the building, which ends up being 2 halves that are joined in the middle by a 2-story hallway. I used a stone base made out of cobblestone, coral blocks, and stone bricks, and then used spruce planks and barrels for the second story. For the roof, I went with red nether bricks, regular bricks, and red terracotta, and then for the trim, I used spruce logs. And then on the outside, connecting the 2 builds, there's a walkway, which also covers the doors on the first floor from the weather. And for details, I tried to use a bit less than I usually do, and focus mainly on the windows and arches to give nice lines to the house without crowding the walls. There's a couple chimneys as well, one on the left side of the house and then another in the middle of the right side, which looks really cool inside because it ends up being a walk-around fireplace. And so at this point, I was starting to think about what the building might actually be. It's sort of off on its own, there's nothing around it, and it's also pretty big with 2 separate sides. So I thought that maybe it would be some sort of hostel, or a tavern or inn, where people would stop and stay in, and one half could be a nice formal area for gathering, and the other could be the living space, where there would be beds and a kitchen. And the interiors aren't something I normally do in my builds because they just take up so much time, and normally I have to move on and build more before finishing interiors. But I'd seen some cool projects on Planet Minecraft and was feeling pretty inspired and excited to do an interior for a change. And speaking of Planet Minecraft, this map will be up for download on there, as well as all my other maps, and I'll include the link to that in the description below. And if you made it this far and you've been enjoying the video, feel free to give it a like. Or if you for some reason made it this far and have hated the video, I guess you could give it a dislike. But if you do like the video, you can also subscribe if you haven't already and become a Geetle. I post once a week with a cool build like this, so if you want to see more cool builds, make sure to subscribe and stick around. So for the next couple of minutes, I'm going to be building the interior of the house, which ends up being a couple of different rooms, and they all have a distinct look, and I like the vibe that the inn ends up having. And then after that, there'll be some cinematic stuff, like a walk around the building, and then a pretty flyer around the dragon and the rest of the map. And I'm going to let some nice fitting music play for that part of the video. But then after that, I'll show the world painter time lapse and talk about how I made the terrain and the mountains and everything map related. And that'll be around 10:20, so I'll see you then. Okay, so time for the world painter stuff. So I moved this part of the video to the end because I realized that a lot of people aren't really interested in it, but I didn't want to get rid of it entirely because I personally really enjoy it, and I know there's a good portion of my fans that also like to see it. So I started off by making a flat surface a little above the water level to be the base of the land, and then I moved to the top of the map and started making a mountain ridge. I laid down a little bit of a raised surface first because it make the mountains have a bit more slope and feel less sheer, especially if you're taking the mountains to the max height. And for some reason I just couldn't get the middle section right, so I ended up having to redo it a couple times before I liking how it looked. Once I had the mountains with a shape I liked, I took a circle brush and started raising the terrain a little bit up from the flat part at the bottom up towards the mountains, and then roughed up the rest of the terrain a little, but not too much since I'm going to go back later and add a smooth snow layer over it, and don't want it to look too messy. Then I switched to a mesa brush, which I like to use because it gives good cliff edges that have a little bit of texture and aren't just straight edges like cliff brushes can be sometimes. I did that or below 105 and then wanted to add a bit extra height variation in certain areas, so bumped it up to at or below 110. Then I used the default cracks brush and used that to lower the height on what would be the glacier and give it some cracks. After that, I made the stone column that the dragon would eventually be circling, which I did using the mesa brush again, and by setting the brush to go up to a certain height, then unchecking that, raising the terrain a little, and then going up to a certain height again, which I like to do because I think if you go straight from ground level up to the max height, it's going to look super distorted and weird. Then I used a custom material of different ices, put that below 45 degrees on the glacier, and zoomed in to make sure I wasn't getting any of that terrain on what would be the mountains. After that, I did a dark mountain terrain mix above 45 degrees, except on the glacier ice terrain, and then took the deep snow terrain and did that all over the map below 45 degrees. And now I'm adding a smooth snow layer around the base of the map, not on the mountains or the glacier, which is going to put layers of snow around that give everything a snowdrift look. It makes the whole map super smooth. It helps to give the map a realistic look, and if you want to see how to make that layer yourself, there's a post on the World Painter subreddit about doing it. Now I'm going to go back around with a custom object layer of pine trees, which I'm only doing around the lower parts of the map, not on the mountains, and then following that layer up with rocks and boulders, and then clearing out an area off to the side where I would eventually put the medieval house. After I did that, I exported the map and looked around in game to see what it would look like, and noticed that the part near the stone pillar and glacier seemed too empty. So I went back through and added trees and boulders around that area too, and then decided it still needed more, and went with the circle of stone outcrop surrounding the central pillar. With that, the map was basically done, and I used the frost layer around the island on the water to freeze it and complete the tundra look. And that's everything. So hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you like the World Painter stuff being moved to the end, or if you'd rather have that earlier in the video. And since I'm a bit too far behind on my posting schedule, and with Thanksgiving coming up this week, I'm going to go ahead and skip posting a video this week and get back around to posting every Friday the week after that. So I'll see you then. Peace.